welcome back. So I've got a little bit of an IDPA update for you here today. I shot IDPA today and I had a genuinely good time, as I usually do when I go to these matches, but after my last video about IDPA ruffled a few feathers, I haven't been shooting as much. I think this is only my second match since the RMR in May, but since we're ramping up for IDPA Nationals in about a month, I wanted to talk about IDPA a little bit. I want to talk about some interesting trends in participation that we've been seeing, or that we're looking at for the National Championship. And I want to talk about what's going on with next year with division changes. And then finally, I want to give you my prediction for who I think is going to come out on top of the divisions at the 2026 IDPA National Championship. Let's get into it. All right, first things first. IDPA put out another email saying, please bring your BUG guns and your CCP guns with optics, signaling again that I think that that's what they're going to do next year. So it seems like we're still on track for those divisions to have optics added to them. From what I'm hearing, SSP optics is out. Like that was on the table for a little while, but now they're going to. It doesn't sound like that's going to be a thing. So, which makes sense to me. I think that doing two divisions and adding optics to two divisions is a great step forward. Doing three, especially in SSP, like, yeah, I don't know about that. That might be one step too far, and maybe we think about that going forward because like I said before, like I think this is eventually leading to optics or optics just being the sighting system that you can use if you want to in any division, and irons also you can use in any division if you want to. There seems to be pushback on the idea that like it's not fair for irons to be competing against dots, but it's like, well, that's on you, man. You chose that. And now the common sighting system is a dot. So I'm hoping that what they don't do is create BUG optics as its own division. Just add optics to BUG and add optics to CCP. It just makes sense. If we were to put, or to have two new divisions we would just kill BUG and just kill CCP for the iron-sided side. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. And who wants to shoot irons when you can shoot a dot? Anyway. All right. Just like last year when we talked about this, I want to talk about the split between divisions and how many masters we have in each division versus the rest of the pack. And we can't talk about that, or the place that makes most sense to talk about that is in the CO division. Last year, we came in at 83. It was either 83, 85, I can't remember, and I didn't go look, but I think Joyce said 83 on the podcast after the match. 83 masters in CO. That is, I think 85 is the requirement for a tier 2. So like CO masters, I argue should get 2 more points because like they are their own match within the national championship. So I think that would be hilarious to give them 2 points and create its own match, and that might be a way for somebody like at the RMR to, we're always looking for more points to get more out of it. But so this year, just the masters in CO, not the total in division. There are 106 masters and 110 if you count the DMs, which I do. So 110 CO masters. That's pretty crazy. There are 200 even out of 444 competitors. That's just shy of half the match you're shooting in CO. So, and I think there's 45 in PCC. So if you include that in optics, because they get an optic, half the match is shooting an optic, and every other division makes up the remaining half of the match, which is pretty crazy. I mean, it lends credence to the idea that we were talking about before, that like, let's split this up in some kind of way. Okay, how about masters for the match in general? I was a little bit surprised by this one. So of the 444 shooters in the match total, in all of the divisions, there are 187 masters. So less so than in every other division. Maybe, I think that lends credibility to the idea that everybody's like, okay, I'm gonna shoot CO until because I know guys that do this. I know a lot of people that do this. I'm gonna shoot CO, and then once I hit master, then I'm gonna go try and do it in other divisions. And getting a match bump at nationals is cool. I've got a coin from a match bump at nationals. So maybe that's what's going on. That's why we see a little bit of less masters in other divisions, but I mean, the other divisions are just less populated in general, so that could be it. Other than that, nothing really stands out to me from the divisions as like out of the ordinary. I did find that SSP has less participants than ESP, which I thought was strange, a little bit strange, because I thought that, you know, sort of to save that division was to give it 15 rounds. And it seems like that worked for a couple of years, but not anymore. So perhaps modifying your gun is more important to IDPA shooters, or making your gun your own thing is more important to IDPA shooters than the extra 5 rounds that you get in SSP. Other than that, there are a total of 17 DMs now, which I would anticipate that number to continue going up. Every year we crown more DMs, or usually we do. But that's cool that there are that many and that they continue to come back and shoot IDPA. So yeah, let's move on to predictions. So these are tough to do. Like I pay attention pretty well. So like I don't want anybody to think that like, oh, you know, everybody's got a puncher's chance. Like somebody might show up and just knock one out of the park and take a division. However, like I said, I keep it pretty, I pay attention pretty well to like who's doing what this year, because it changes in some divisions, it doesn't, which is like the first one that I want to talk about, CDP. CDP belongs to one man and one man only. And until he steps away or someone steps up, I don't see anyone toppling the indomitable Glenn Shelby in that division. So he's my pick for CDP again this year. He's a multi-time winner in CDP, and I've seen him do it over and over again, and it's pretty amazing what he can do with that 45. So Glenn Shelby's my pick for CDP. SSP, this guy's been on an irons kick for the past few years. He's definitely shot dots. I think it started as a ramp up for like a bigger match. I think he was going to like the world shoot or something like that. And it was like, oh, I'm just going to shoot irons and maybe he fell in love with it or back in love with it. I don't know. But for the past few years, Nils Jonasson has been the top of SSP, and I don't see that changing this year. He's shooting, I know at least 1 year he has shot his little iron-sighted gun, his carry gun in IDPA, which is awesome. The spirit of the game is with him in that regard. Others to watch in SSP, Eric France, who has the most division championships at a national, or the most division championships, most DMingest, most DMs in most divisions in IDPA, is also shooting SSP. So it doesn't look like it'll be just a walk-off victory for Nils with Eric there and several others that are good in SSP, but Nils is my pick for SSP this year. CCP. It's tough to talk about CCP without talking about the huge gap that was left when Austin left that division. Austin Peru had won that in the World's Nationals several years in a row, and it kind of like had thinned out the herd a little bit. I think that that happens in divisions all the time, where it's like, oh, everybody anticipates this guy winning, so maybe not as many people sign up in it. But we have seen quite an influx of shooters to the CCP division after the fact, now that he has moved to CO. So he stepped away in 2025, but the heat is growing there. Last year, the guy that I think is going to be coming back with a fire and with a passion, James McGinty, but for his disqualification from what I'm told, it was like an improper cover garment or something like that, which is, that's a shitty way for that to go down. But anyway, on to 2026. I anticipate him coming back with a fire to take CCP division. So he shot a hell of a match last year. I anticipate he can do it again this year. There are several others that are super fast and super good in that division. So it's going to be a close race. So again, not a walk-off victory for James by any stretch of the imagination. But I have to imagine he's out for blood after last year. So James McGinty, my pick for CCP. All right, ESP. ESP is a bit open-ended in my mind. I don't know a lot of the names in ESP. I know a few. Last year's champ, Jonathan Miller, he did super well last year. So his name, I think, will be at the top of those standings somewhere. But we've got several other good big names in ESP. Mike Seaclander for one, Brady Harden is another. So I can see any one of those guys. It'll be another division to watch to see who's going to come out on top of that one. And I really don't know. Like, that one's too close for me to call because Mike Seaclander has been putting in wins in ESP for years. Brady Harden, he's traditionally, from what I've noticed or seen, a CDP guy, but he's always been super fast at that. So now he's got 2 extra rounds and 9mm, which is like recoiling. But Jonathan Miller has been killing it the last few years. So like a really tight race, I think it's going to be, and it'll be an interesting division to watch. So I don't have a pick for ESP. It's one I'm going to be interested to see what happens. All right, PCC. You guys know, or if you've seen any of these videos, if you've seen me at matches, you know that I've had my eye on one guy in PCC for several years. My traveling buddy, Sydney Ballard. He got the DM a few years ago by being close enough to the winner. I think he did it 2 years in a row. But I know that he's out for blood, having that DC Division Championship elude him. So I think that he's on track this year. So he is my pick for PCC. Revolver. So we've got a little bit of a Revolver duel shaping up here, which I think is super, super interesting because generally, who talks about Revolver division? But here we are. So a few years ago, Luigi Lee stepped into, I've just seen him on Instagram. I don't think I've ever actually met him, but I've seen him on Instagram, and he's one of those guys that my impression is that he can just shoot whatever he picks up. And so a few years ago, he picked up a bug gun. I think it was at Worlds, but I don't remember. And won that division at a Nationals or Worlds and DM'd in that. And it looks like he's making a run at Revolver division too. So 6 rounds, it makes sense. However, if Jess Christensen has anything to say about it, I think I'm saying his name right, then, because he's a DM in Revolver, he's won it several times. I don't know that he didn't step in just to prevent that from happening, maybe. But either way, I think it will be an interesting watch to see what happens there. If Luigi can do it with a Revolver, that would be super interesting. He always wears, like last year, he wore like a cover garment that was like a sheepskin or something. But anyway, we'll see what Jess has to say about it. I don't have a pick for that one either. That's going to be a division to watch, just because of that, I think. All right, CO division, where all the heat is. We've already talked about this. The most Masters we'll ever see, probably ever see in a single division this year. It's going to be a close race, as it always is. I think that last year it was within a few seconds. Austin Prue pulled it out last year, took the title. He's done it several times in CCP. He's done it last year in CO. However, this year there's a big name. The speed shooting champion BJ Norris is coming. It's going to be a tight race, and there are a bunch of really good Masters and a few other DMs there that could pop up. It's going to be one of those matches where it's like, oof, no mistakes. But that's Austin's game, is no mistakes, straight shooting. So Austin is my pick for the 2026 CO champ. But it's going to be a super tight race. And as it always is, it's going to be a division that everybody's looking at. It's going to be a division that everybody's interested to see who wins. But Austin Prue, my pick for 2026. And last but not least, as you guys know, I keep a pretty sharp eye on the bug division. I've talked to this guy a few times as he's been shooting this division all year. He's kind of doing what I did in 2021, which is like, if you're going to do bug, you're going to just do it all year, because it's pretty tough to shoot a big gun, for the regular season and then just switch to it for one match and do well, because the mags are so small, the gun is small. It's just tough. So he's been shooting it all year, putting out really good videos on YouTube, and that's Brandon Jackson. He's going to be my pick for bug. I don't think that it's going to be just a walk-off. There's been there's at least one DM in bug, and several good Masters, 24 people total in bug, which may be the most. It's right around what we've been getting for Nationals in the past few years. But there are there's several good shooters that are gonna be there. So Brandon's gonna have to come and do it one more time. He's done it several times this year, and I'm confident that he will. So Brandon Jackson is my pick for Bug Champ 2026. All right, that is it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are a little over a month away from the IDPA National Championship. So get in your last practice sessions and head to Ohio, of all places, as that's where it's going to be, at Moringa, and let's get this done. As for me, I'll be shooting in CO again this year. After shooting my 26 last year in CO and coming in 11th place master, I told myself I'm going to dedicate this year. I'm just going to shoot big guns. So that's all I've been doing. And I'm excited to do it. I'm excited to be done with it for 1 year. I've been shooting the 4.5, and I'm not sure that if it's me or the gun. I just don't feel as connected to it as I did some others. But either way, I feel good going into the national championship. Before that, I'm going down a week, 2 weeks early to the Turtle Creek. They're calling it the close combat match. It was a bug match, but now they're doing bug optics, and I don't know if they're doing CCP optics, but bug and bug optics for sure. It's the week before national, so a nice little tune-up. It's going to be super fast, super fun. It's like targets that are 10 yards or closer and 16 rounds or less. So if you're running bug and you're running 8 rounds, you only have to reload once, just like everybody else. So that is pretty cool. Yeah. If you're coming down to the Turtle Creek match, I know I've got a good squad. I'm excited to shoot with those guys. And if you see me at Nationals, say hi. One of my favorite things about Nationals is seeing all friends from all over the country. So looking forward to seeing you guys there. Don't be a stranger.